Right. That is why I put so many color images, because these color images will help you remember more. Anyways. Now, life cycle of Poganatum. Pay close attention to these images as we are reading this paragraph. Gametophyte is the dominant plant, larger and longer living than the sporophyte. First thing that you need to understand, the life cycle that we learned is heteromorphic alternation of generation. Heteromorphic means two different body forms. Alternation means one after the other. So you can clearly see two types of body forms. This one is known as the sporophyte. Okay. This one is known as the gametophyte. Do you see? Two different body forms are there. That is why it is known as heteromorphic alternation of generation. This is the gametophyte. This is the sporophyte. In Poganatum, this gametophyte is dominant and longer living. Dominant means they are, now if you take this as an entire life cycle, this part will take most of the time in the life cycle, while this part will take less time. That is why it's called as dominant. Dominant and photosynthetic. They are capable of producing their own food. Okay? Right. Dominant plant, larger and longer living than the sporophyte. This is the sporophyte. Is that clear? Gametophyte is photosynthetic, green color. Now do you see? Picture memory. You remember it is green, then you know it is photosynthetic. Gametophyte is green color, so photosynthetic. Stems, leaves, rhizoids are present. Poganatum, is it a vascular plant or non-vascular plant? I am going to answer that. Non-vascular plant. Non-vascular plant means they don't have xylem or phloem. If they don't have xylem or phloem, can they have true stems or true roots? No. Then stems, leaves and roots. But instead of roots, they have another one that is suited for them, known as rhizoids. Again, can you see in the diagram itself, these squiggly lines are given? Those are rhizoids. These leaf-like structures are leaves. And in the middle, you will have a small stem, that from that only the leaves are coming. That stem also is not a true stem, it is a stem. Because it doesn't have xylem, no phloem, as it is a non-vascular plant. Okay? Right. Gametophytes are dioecious, unisexual. What does it mean by unisexual? Both. If you take the male plants and the female parts, they are found on different plants. Okay? It is dioecious, unisexual. There is a separate male gametophyte and there is a separate female gametophyte. Is that clear? Right. So take a look at this one. Again, easy way for you to remember. There are two gametophytes according to the diagram given in your tute. One gametophyte is a male one, the other one is a female one. What do you understand from that? It is dioecious. Okay? Right. Mature male gametophytes produce antheredia in which several sperms are produced. So this is the mature male gametophyte with antheredia. Let's see whether I can zoom in. Oh yes, I can. Nice. Right. So this is the mature male gametophyte, mature female gametophyte. Mature male gametophyte is producing what? Countless sperms. So several sperms are produced by the mature male gametophyte. Then female gametophytes produce archegonium. What did we learn about archegonium and the egg? They are retained. They do not secrete this egg to the outside. So archegonium, as you can see, archegonium is producing an egg and that egg is retained. The sperm only has to swim and come to the egg. Is that clear? Right. A single egg is produced within the archegonium. Again, take a look at the image. How many eggs are there within the archegonium? Each archegonium has one egg within it. So each archegonium produces a single egg to which a sperm can come and bind. Flagellated motile sperm swims through external water towards egg entering the archegonium in response to chemical attractants. So that is not clearly shown in this diagram, but how this takes place is, so this is the antheridium, this is the archegonium. So let's say it is raining. When it rains, you have these water droplets. Okay, water droplets. So what happens is these water droplets hit on this antheridium. As it hits on this antheridium, it will bounce off. This water droplet will bounce off that antheridium. As it hits and bounces off, it carries some sperm along with it in that water droplet. Okay, and then that water droplet enters into the archegonium. Then over here the sperm will be present. This archegonium is present in a liquid medium. Near the egg there are certain cells which produces certain chemicals. These chemicals can attract this sperm to come towards the egg. So as you can see, this is how external water is used. So external water carries the sperm onto the archegonium. Archegonium or the egg will produce chemical attractants causing the sperm to come towards it. Okay? Right. So flagellated as you can clearly see multiple flagella. Right? Motile, ability to move is known as motile. Flagellated, motile sperms swim through the external water. So this is the external water. Swimming through the external water towards the egg, entering the archegonium in response to chemical attractants. Is that clear? Then the sperm fuses with the egg. Okay. The sperm fuses with the egg, resulting in a diploid zygote. So we saw previously the sperm coming into the archegonium and then eventually it fuses to form the diploid zygote. So this is the diploid zygote. Right. So like we saw previously, this is not external fertilization, this is internal fertilization. So this embryo is retained within what? What is the structure? The archegonium. It is retained within that archegonium. Then that zygote will eventually develop into an embryo. Embryo is also retained within the archegonium, and eventually that embryo will become a sporophyte. So now this was the gametophyte. Now tell me, is this gametophyte a female gametophyte or male gametophyte? Female gametophyte. Somewhere here you will find what? Archegonium or antheridium? Archegonium. So this embryo eventually grows into this young sporophyte. Where does it obtain its nutrients? It will first obtain its nutrients from this female gametophyte. Okay? Right. The sporophyte remains attached to the gametophyte. As you can see in this diagram, the sporophyte is not removed from that gametophyte. The sporophyte is remained within the female gametophyte. It is attached to the female gametophyte. Understood? Okay. The sporophyte consists of a foot, seta and capsule. So foot is the way it is attached to the plant, seta, and this part is the capsule. Okay? Foot, seta and capsule. Okay? Right. The capsule, the foot absorbs nutrients and water from the gametophyte. So this sporophyte remains attached to the gametophyte, obtaining nutrients from the gametophyte. This sporophyte has a foot, seta, capsule. The foot is involved in obtaining nutrients from this gametophyte. Okay? Right. Then the capsule produces spores by meiosis. Here, Inside the capsule you will have sporangia. That sporangia will have spore mother cells that will produce spores by meiosis or mitosis. Meiosis. Why sporophyte is a diploid. How is it a diploid? Male gamete is a haploid, female gamete is a haploid. Two haploids come together to form a diploid. Okay. Then inside this capsule you will have the spore producing cells. Then they will produce spores by meiosis. Understood? Producing spores by meiosis and only one type of spores. Then is it homosporous or heterosporous? Homosporous. Okay. Then, as you can see, these are the spores that were produced by this meiosis. Then that spore will travel through the environment, go to a favorable location and then germinate. That means from the spore, a plant will come. It will germinate into what? Gametophyte or sporophyte? It will become a gametophyte. Very good. Gametophyte is haploid or diploid? Right. Then the spores are dispersed to a favorable habitat like moist soil or the bark of a tree. This has to be in a moist environment. Why? This sperm is using external water for fertilization. So if fertilization has to occur properly, it has to be in a wet environment. So this spore will be dispersed to a favorable environment like the bark of a tree or even in moist soil. Then they will germinate and grow into a green branched filament called protonema. As you can see, they are not directly. Now this spore is not directly forming this gametophyte. What is it forming? This primitive structure, not primitive structure, we can call it origin structure. The origin structure known as a protonema. It is a branched filament. So as you can see, it is forming in a linear manner, which is then dividing, and that will again divide, but it's not shown here. And from that protonema, buds are originated. Buds, baby gametophytes. And that bud will eventually become the mature gametophyte. Is that clear? Right. Protonema produces buds that grow into gametophyte. So that is the life cycle of Pogonatum. So then again I told you I will relate it to the previous flow chart. So flow chart here, this is the gametophyte. Gametophyte has gametangia, produces gametes by meiosis or mitosis. Then these gametes will fuse together to form a zygote. So once they fuse together, now they are diploid. Then this zygote will eventually become embryo, and that embryo will grow into a sporophyte. Sporophyte will produce spores. That spores will eventually become these baby gametophytes, eventually forming the mature gametophytes. So this is the life cycle of Pogonatum.